There is a voice inside your head. It has been speaking to you since the moment you woke up this morning, and it will speak to you until the moment you fall asleep tonight. You did not choose it. You cannot turn it off. But here is what Carl Jung discovered. That voice is not just describing your life. It is building it, word by word, thought by thought, every single day. And most people have no idea what their voice is actually saying. Think about the last time something went wrong, something small. You made a mistake at work. You said the wrong thing to someone. You looked in the mirror and felt something heavy settle in your chest. What did that voice say? Not the edited version, the real one. The one that arrived before you could stop it. Of course, this happened to me. I always do this. I am never going to be different. What is wrong with me? That voice. The one that has been running that kind of commentary for years. Carl Jung called it the most dangerous thing in any person's life. Not their circumstances. Not the people around them. Not the challenges they face from the outside. The conversation happening on the inside. Stay with me, because what you are about to hear is going to change the way you speak to yourself forever. And I promise, the solution is coming, but you need to understand something first. Something that most people never figure out. Jung said something that most people read quickly and move on from. He said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Read that again slowly. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. What does that actually mean for you right now in your actual life? It means this. The voice inside your head is mostly unconscious. You are not choosing what it says. You are not reviewing it before it speaks. It runs automatically, like a program. And that program was not written by you. It was written by every experience. You ever had that taught you something about who you are? Every moment someone dismissed you. Every time you tried and failed. Every environment that communicated you were too much or not enough. Every relationship that confirmed a fear you already had about yourself. All of it became code. And the code runs every morning before you are fully awake, every night when the distractions stop, every time something goes wrong, every time something good happens and the voice immediately asks, how long before this falls apart? Here is where it gets uncomfortable. And I need you to stay with me through this part, because most people turn away right here. The specific way you speak to yourself in your worst moments was not created by you. It was absorbed from people who had their own version of the same program running, from environments that needed you to stay small, from a world that taught you your worth was conditional on performance, on approval, on being the version of yourself that other people found easiest to accept. And here is the cost of that. Every day you have lived inside that conversation, a quieter version of yourself has been sitting underneath it, waiting, not demanding, not dramatic about it, just waiting for you to finally speak to them differently. You feel that, don't you? That specific quiet grief of someone who has been harder on themselves than they would ever be on a person they love, who has said things to themselves in the dark that they would never say to a friend who was struggling, who has replayed their own failures on a loop that no one else even watches, who has decided somewhere along the way that the harsh voice was the honest one and the kind voice was just weakness in disguise. Jung watched this in patient after patient. He called it the negative inflation of the shadow, the specific psychological state of someone who has so thoroughly absorbed other people's critical voices that they now perform those voices on themselves without needing anyone else to do it, without even realizing they are doing it. But wait, because here is the part that changes everything, and I want you to stay for this. Jung discovered something in his clinical work that surprised him. He found that the people who changed their lives most dramatically did not change their circumstances first. They changed their inner conversation first, not through fake positivity, not through pretending things were better than they were, through something far more specific, through learning to speak to themselves the way someone who genuinely believed in them would speak. Think about that person in your life, real or imagined, the person who saw something in you that you struggled to see in yourself, who spoke about your potential as though it was already real, who did not minimize your difficulty, but also refused to let the difficulty be the final word about you. Now think about how different your days would feel if that was the voice you woke up to. Not the critical one, not the automated program. That one. This is where most people say, that sounds nice, but I can't control my thoughts. And they are right. You cannot control what arrives, but you can control what stays. You can control what you do with what arrives. You can learn to recognize the automatic program when it fires, and you can learn to interrupt it, not by arguing with it, not by suppressing it, by doing what Jung described as the most important act of psychological self-respect available to any human being, choosing a different response, deliberately, consciously, on purpose. Here is what that actually looks like. The next time the voice fires, the next time you make a mistake and the automatic commentary begins, I want you to do one thing. Pause, not for long, 3 seconds, and ask yourself this question. Is this how I would speak to someone I love if they were going through this right now? Not would I sugarcoat it. Not would I pretend the problem is not there. Would I be this specific kind of cruel? Would I say exactly this, in exactly this tone, to someone who mattered to me and was already struggling? The answer will almost always be no. And that gap between how you speak to yourself and how you would speak to someone you love is where the transformation begins. Jung called this process the integration of the inner critic, not destroying it, not silencing it, understanding it. The critical voice was not born cruel, it was born protective. It learned that if it criticized you first, it could prevent the pain of someone else criticizing you. It learned that if it kept your expectations low, it could protect you from the specific devastation of hope that did not come true. It was trying to keep you safe in the only way it knew how, which was to make sure you never got too comfortable, never got too confident, never stopped watching for everything that could go wrong. And here is the compassion that changes the relationship with that voice. It was never your enemy. It was a scared part of you, trying to protect a version of yourself that no longer needs the same protection. You are not the child who needed to manage disappointment in advance. You are not the teenager who needed to armor before walking into rooms that felt dangerous. You are not the person who first built that voice. You are someone older, wiser, more capable, more equipped than the version of yourself that needed that specific protection. And the voice does not know that because nobody ever told it. This is what telling it looks like. This is the specific change that Carl Jung documented again and again in the people who transformed the most. Not the ones who had the easiest lives, the ones who learned to speak differently to themselves, in private, where no one else could hear, in the morning, before the day fills with demands. One thing, I am someone who is still figuring this out, and that is allowed. Not a declaration, not a performance, a simple honest acknowledgement that you are in process. That being in process is not failure, that the fact that you are still trying is not evidence of how far you have to go. It is evidence of something far more significant, that you have not given up on yourself, even when the voice told you to. When something goes wrong, instead of the automatic commentary, one question: what would I want someone who loves me to say right now? And then say that to yourself, out loud if you can, quietly if you cannot, in the privacy of your own mind, where it counts the most. When you succeed, this is the one most people skip. When something goes right, when you do something well, when you survive something you were not sure you could, do not minimize it. Do not immediately redirect to what needs to be better next time. Acknowledge it fully for at least 30 seconds before the voice moves on. I did that. That was real. That counted. Jung discovered that the nervous system cannot tell the difference between genuine external validation and the consistent experience of internal acknowledgement. What you give yourself with repetition and honesty lands in the same place as what you have always been looking for from outside. The approval, the recognition, the specific feeling of being genuinely seen. You can begin to provide that for yourself, not as a substitute for connection, as a foundation for it. Here is the truth Jung kept returning to. The world tends to treat you the way you treat yourself, not because it is watching, because the way you speak to yourself determines the specific quality of presence you bring into every room. The way you move through difficulty, the way you respond to opportunity, the way you show up in relationship, all of it is downstream of the conversation happening inside. Change the conversation, and the world does not change. You change. The way you move through it, the way you receive from it, the way you allow good things to stay, instead of immediately finding the reason they will not last. All of it shifts, not overnight, but genuinely, in the specific way that only genuinely shifts when the change is happening at the level it needs to happen, not on the surface, in the place where everything was always being decided. The conversation, the one running right now, the one you have the power to interrupt and slowly replace. Start today. Not when you feel ready, not when the circumstances improve, not when you have figured out the right words. Today, with the next thought that arrives, the next moment the automatic voice fires, the next time you catch yourself mid-sentence in a conversation with yourself that you would never have with someone you love. Pause 3 seconds and choose differently. One time, that is the beginning, and beginnings are everything. If something in this video reached the part of you that has been carrying a conversation you did not choose and were never taught to question, that reaching is the first step. Share this with someone who needs to hear that the voice inside their head is not the truth about them. It is a program, and programs can be changed. Subscribe, because the next video goes even deeper into exactly how